It was a quiet morning by the lake. The sun was rising, the water was still, and my speedboat sat peacefully at the dock. I had just finished some routine maintenance and was looking forward to a relaxing ride later that day. But little did I know, someone in the neighborhood had other plans. Karen, the self-appointed enforcer of our HOA, had been watching me for weeks. She didn't like the boat, didn't like me, and definitely didn't like the fact that I wasn't following her imaginary rules. She had complained before. Letters, threats, even shouting matches. But this time, she was about to take things to a whole new level. Karen wasn't just annoyed, she was obsessed. Every time I walked past her house, I could feel her eyes burning holes through me. She'd stand at her window, arms crossed, watching my every move like I was some kind of criminal. She started taking photos of my boat, not just once or twice daily. She even measured how far it was from the curb and claimed it violated some imaginary HOA nautical distance rule. Neighbors began whispering. Some thought she was just eccentric. Others knew she was gearing up for something big. I had a feeling too, but I didn't expect what came next. Karen wasn't just planning to complain. She was planning to strike. Karen wasn't just watching anymore. She was plotting. One afternoon, I noticed her walking around the dock with a clipboard, scribbling notes and muttering to herself. She even brought a measuring tape and started inspecting the boat like she was conducting an official investigation. Then came the flyers. She printed out fake HOA notices claiming my boat was a hazard to community safety and taped them to mailboxes around the neighborhood. Most people laughed it off, but a few started asking questions. I knew she was trying to stir up trouble, but I didn't realize she was laying the groundwork for something far more outrageous. Karen wasn't just trying to get rid of the boat. She was preparing to take it. Karen wasn't just watching anymore. She was scheming. Late one evening, I noticed her walking near my dock with a flashlight, pretending to inspect the shoreline. She claimed she was checking for invasive plants. Yeah, right. The next morning, I found strange chalk markings near my boat, lines, arrows, and a note taped to the dock that read, Violation number 47, Unauthorized Marine Equipment. It was signed HOA Enforcement. There is no violation number 47, and Karen isn't even on the HOA board. It was clear. She was laying the groundwork to justify whatever she was planning next. And I had a feeling it wasn't going to be legal or smart. It was a sunny afternoon, and I was inside grabbing lunch when I heard the unmistakable sound of my boat engine roaring to life. Confused, I rushed outside, and there she was, Karen, standing at the helm of my speedboat, wearing oversized sunglasses and a smug grin, like she was starring in her own action movie. She didn't ask, she didn't knock, she just climbed aboard and took off. Neighbors came out of their homes, jaws dropping as she sped across the lake like she owned it. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My boat stolen in broad daylight by the same woman who claimed to be protecting the neighborhood, and that was just the beginning. As Karen sped off in my boat, I grabbed my phone to call the authorities, but before I could even dial, something unbelievable happened. Karen called 911 herself. She claimed she was being harassed and chased by me. The dispatcher sounded confused, especially when Karen insisted she was just trying to enjoy the lake in a boat that didn't belong to her. I listened in disbelief as she twisted the story, painting herself as the victim. Meanwhile, she was literally committing theft in real time. The sheriff was dispatched immediately, and I made sure they knew exactly what was going on. Within minutes of Karen's bizarre 911 call, the sheriff pulled up to the dock in his patrol boat. I flagged him down and explained the situation. That Karen had stolen my speedboat and was now pretending to be the victim. He didn't waste time. With lights flashing and sirens echoing across the lake, the sheriff launched into pursuit. Karen, still on my boat, looked back and saw him gaining fast. Her face went pale. She tried to speed up, but she clearly had no clue how to handle the boat properly. It was swerving, bouncing, and nearly tipping over. The chase was on, and it was about to get messy. Karen was in way over her head, literally. As the sheriff's boat closed in, she tried to outrun him, slamming the throttle and sending my speedboat bouncing across the waves. She nearly collided with a buoy, then veered dangerously close to a dock. People were shouting from the shore, some filming the madness unfold. It looked like a scene from a low-budget action movie, except it was real. The sheriff stayed calm, expertly navigating the chase. Karen, on the other hand, was flailing. Her sunglasses flew off, her hair whipped in the wind, and her confidence melted into pure panic. She wasn't just running from the law, she was running from the consequences of her own ridiculous choices. Karen was desperate. She zigzagged across the lake, ignoring every safety rule in the book. At one point, she nearly clipped a paddleboarder, who dove out of the way just in time. The sheriff shouted warnings through his megaphone, but Karen wasn't listening. She was in full meltdown. The boat's engine groaned under her erratic driving. She tried to cut through a narrow channel, but misjudged the turn and scraped the hull against a submerged log. Sparks flew. The boat jolted. Karen screamed. It was clear. She wasn't escaping. She was spiraling, and the sheriff, he was closing. In calm, focused, and ready to end this madness. The sheriff was now just a few yards behind Karen. His megaphone crackled to life. Pull over the boat immediately. You are not authorized to operate that vessel. Karen glanced back, her face a mix of panic and defiance. She tried to shout something over the roar of the engine, but it was drowned out by the siren and the crashing waves. She swerved again, this time dangerously close to a fishing boat. The fisherman cursed and waved his arms, barely avoiding a collision. The sheriff didn't flinch. He was locked in, ready to end this chase before someone got seriously hurt. Karen had one last chance to stop, but knowing her, she was about to make things even worse. Karen's boat was slowing down, not because she wanted to stop, but because she'd pushed the engine too hard. It sputtered, coughed, and finally gave in. The sheriff seized the moment. He pulled up alongside her, matching speed perfectly. Cut the engine, and put your hands where I can see them, he commanded. Karen froze. Her bravado vanished. She looked around, realizing the crowd on shore was watching, phones out, recording every second. Her HOA reputation shattered. She tried to argue, claiming she was just borrowing the boat. But the sheriff wasn't buying it. He reached over, secured the vessel, and prepared to bring her in. The lake had never been quieter, as the sheriff secured both boats. Karen tried one last desperate move. She started arguing, loudly. This is a misunderstanding. I'm part of the HOA, she shouted, as if that gave her permission to steal a speedboat. The sheriff wasn't impressed. Ma'am, you're under investigation for theft and reckless endangerment. Karen's face turned red. She tried to explain, spinning a story about community safety and unauthorized marine activity. But the sheriff had already seen the footage, heard the 911 call, and spoken to witnesses. He asked her to step off the boat. She hesitated. Then, reluctantly, she climbed onto the patrol vessel, her sunglasses gone, her confidence shattered, and her HOA badge nowhere in sight, as Karen stood on the sheriff's boat, trying to salvage her dignity. The crowd on shore was already documenting her downfall. Phones were out, cameras rolling. Neighbors, boaters, even joggers had stopped to watch the spectacle unfold. One kid live-streamed the whole thing, narrating like a sports commentator. And there she goes, HOA Karen, caught red-handed, Karen noticed. She tried to shield her face, but it was too late. Her reputation, her authority, her self-appointed HOA status, all crumbling in real time. The sheriff calmly radioed for backup while Karen muttered excuses under her breath. But the lake had spoken, and the internet, it was already preparing. The meme stopped back at the dock. The HOA board members had gathered, some in disbelief, others clearly embarrassed. Karen had always claimed to speak on behalf of the HOA, but now they were distancing themselves faster than she sped off in. My boat. One board member whispered, "We never authorized any of this." Another shook his head, muttering, "She's not even on the enforcement committee." The sheriff approached them calmly, asking for clarification. They confirmed Karen had no official role, no authority, and no permission to act on behalf of the HOA, her self-appointed title. Completely fake. The community was stunned. Karen wasn't just guilty of theft, she'd been lying about her power all along. Within hours of the incident, clips of Karen's boat heist were all over social media. The live stream, the sheriff's chase, her dramatic arrest, every moment was being shared, memed, and dissected. One video titled "HOA Karen calls 911 after stealing my speedboat, so I let the sheriff catch her at full speed quickly," gained traction on YouTube. Comments poured in from around the world, with viewers stunned by her audacity and laughing at her meltdown. Karen had wanted control. Instead, she became a viral sensation for all the wrong reasons. Her HOA status gone, her reputation sunk, and the internet. It wasn't letting her forget it anytime soon. The sheriff didn't waste time. After confirming Karen had no authority and had stolen private property, he filed an official report. Charges were being considered, including theft, reckless endangerment, and false reporting. Karen was escorted to the station for questioning. Her attitude had shifted from smug to silent. No more HOA speeches. No more fake rules. Just the sound of legal paperwork being processed. Meanwhile, I provided video evidence, the chase, the 911 call, and her trespassing. The case was airtight. Karen had crossed a line, and now, the law was drawing one right back. A few days after the incident, Karen received an official court summons. The charges were serious: unauthorized use of property, reckless operation of a watercraft, and filing a false police report. She tried to downplay it, telling neighbors it was just a misunderstanding. But the sheriff's report, the video evidence, and the viral footage told a very different story. The HOA board issued a formal statement, distancing themselves from her actions. They even began reviewing their bylaws to prevent future self-appointed enforcers from causing chaos. Karen was no longer the neighborhood watchdog. She was now just another defendant, preparing to face a judge. Karen arrived at the courthouse, dressed like she was attending a neighborhood brunch, not a legal hearing. She clutched a folder labeled HOA Defense, filled with printed screenshots and handwritten notes. None of it mattered. The judge reviewed the evidence, video footage of the boat theft, the 911 call, where Karen falsely claimed harassment testimonies from neighbors and the HOA board. Karen tried to argue that she was protecting the community, but the judge wasn't buying it. Her self-appointed authority held no legal weight. The courtroom was silent as the charges were read aloud. She wasn't just facing public embarrassment anymore. She was facing real consequences. The courtroom was silent as the judge prepared to deliver the verdict. Karen stood stiffly, clutching her folder of HOA evidence that had already been dismissed. Her lawyer looked resigned. The prosecution had presented a flawless case: video proof, eyewitness accounts, and the infamous 911 call. The judge spoke clearly, guilty on all counts. Karen's face fell. No more smugness, no more speeches. Just the reality of fines, community service, and a permanent mark on her record. The HOA board released a statement, officially removing her from any future involvement. The neighborhood breathed a collective sigh of relief. Karen had tried to control the lake. Instead, she drowned in her own delusions. With the verdict delivered and the drama behind us, the lake returned to its peaceful rhythm. Neighbors resumed their routines, the HOA restructured its policies, and my speedboat, finally back where it belonged, became a symbol of resilience. Karen quietly moved out a few weeks later. No farewell party, no HOA speeches, just a moving truck and a few awkward glances. The story lived on, though. The video HOA Karen calls 911 after stealing my speedboat, so I let the sheriff catch her at full speed, became a viral hit, reminding everyone that entitlement and ego don't float well on open water, and me. I still take my boat out on weekends, but now I keep the keys locked up tight, just in case another Karen decides she's the captain.